Welcome everyone to the 76th Tesla Beat podcast. We have you guys covered every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Say hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. It's so good to be here. Joe, good to see you. Hans, good to see you. And I guess it's good to see John. I don't know.
We'll get by. We'll get by.
Yeah, we'll get by. Well, awesome. Great to have everyone. Glad to be back at this. No matter where you are in the world, we have you covered, literally.
Real quick
Um,
before we go, I want to say, John, congratulations on 1 million followers on X. Can I get your autograph? Can we?
I'll make an X for you. Yeah, no, that was it happened, I think technically like between Saturday to Sunday, and we've been waiting for it because there was a moment where it really slowed down, like it was becoming like our slowest growing channel. And then thankfully over the past since actually the election, it just started to speed up again. So we were able to get over the line. But yeah, it's been, from a club standpoint, from even my own personal, like that's where I invest all my time over all these past 6 years that we've been running the handle since when I created it as a personal account initially of like where Tesla owners in Silicon Valley. So super happy. And then thing you know, freaking Elon buys Twitter. And that's where we had always doubled down. And that's because that's where he was. So for us, like that's where I always put my most time. And I never would have thought, honestly, like hitting a million followers on X. So huge accomplishment. Thank you for the support. Thank you guys for supporting me personally. And hopefully a lot of more good things to come. Well, not hopefully, but a lot more good things to come. So all right, let's jump into it. Joe with another Grok image. These get better every week. We're flying now. All right.
Yeah,
So
we are, baby. Look at the numbers.
we're levitating at this point. All right. So year to date, we have about, what is it, 6 more weeks in the year. And what I would say, was pretty rough year stock wise for probably the majority of half of it. And then we had all like the little peaks and valleys and stuff, but to end at 42%, or where we are now, even last week we were at 317. So there's a lot of fluctuations here, but it's the Tesla stock is finally ripping. And I think it's at a 2 or 3 year all-time high. The 4 year, I think the all-time high is, I think, is like 417 or something like that, 415. So for that, it's itching closer, and it's great to see, especially now that the election's done. We're all moving on, and it's just been able to, I think, really come back, because there's a lot of uncertainty that's been removed, and a lot of, I think, specifically, you can already see it with Trump. He's going to try at the federal level to potentially make it so that you can deregulate fully autonomous vehicles. So that's been exciting, at least to see it rip.
Yep.
All right, Joe, I'll throw this first one to you.
I think this is pretty cool. Time made this list, and Elon, classic Elon, just being humble himself. To be clear, I have not done any media interviews, and this is not actually my checklist. I am trying to make life multiplanetary to maximize the probable lifespan of consciousness. Some of the items below are needed for that. So it's of course, like most legacy media, they're just trying to hop on the Elon Tesla bandwagon while they can before before X really does them all in. It's really kind of crazy that his media company is like kind of ruining all legacy media. But no, I mean, kudos to Time for recognizing him and putting together this cool little image. It went around and circulating. It's funny that they did that and they didn't even interview him. They just capitalizing on his current fame right now.
Well, it's
Popularity.
absolutely clickbait of the physical variety, I suppose, if Time is still a print magazine. But I love that it feels like what they were trying to do was insult him by saying, rich, popular, successful, nice. Yeah, these are not insults. to Elon. I don't know which one is supposed to be the bad thing, but of course they're going to try and spin it any way they can. And why would they interview him? They don't need to. They already know everything. And I don't see it as a battle between new media and legacy media, because without legacy media, the things we discuss on X would not have a skeleton to cling to. We rely on those reports often just to make fun of them, but though they still fill a critical role in the landscape. Legacy media is dying because they spent a decade convincing everyone that only print media was legit media while demonizing every other form. And now they've realized, oh no, this is everything. This is all of it. We don't know how to transition into a profitable model for the future. And they rested on their laurels a little too aggressively.
Yeah, John's on mute. What he's trying to say is basically,
Sorry.
Brian, you are absolutely correct.
Exactly. Sorry. Who would have thought? Why would you put yourself on mute? So first off, I agree with everything that Joe and Brian said. We all know that legacy media is dying. It's very clear. Elon has very much said that the competition is legacy media. It's not necessarily other social media platforms. And the thing is that I realized yesterday what's so crazy about this is, I got on X, or this specific account X. I've been on X or Twitter since 2009, but really this account since for the past 6 years. And what's crazy is, I guess I realize technically I have been a citizen journalist for the past 6 years, reporting on the real news of Tesla, and we all have in some form. And that's what is so empowering about this platform, about YouTube and all these other ones where you can report on it. But specifically X and formerly Twitter, there's no other place to post real-time breaking information, to react to other fake news or misinformation. There's only one platform that can break things immediately. And that's why I think it's crazy to see what X has become. And it's also hilarious just to see, yeah, at this point, a lot of these companies, I mean, you saw what happened with the Washington Post, where Jeff Bezos, well, a couple of new things have come out, but Jeff Bezos essentially stopped Washington Post from endorsing Harris. And then I think there was rumors that they needed to start posting more conservative things. And then Elon posted something literally yesterday. And that's the funny thing is, where does Jeff get on to respond? He doesn't go to the Washington Post and post an article in response. Elon's like, oh yeah, I was, at Mar-a-Lago, and I heard that Jeff Bezos was telling everyone to sell all their Tesla because it's gonna, Trump is gonna lose. And what happened? Jeff Bezos gets on X and responds, that's 100% a lie. And then the post actually gets community noted and says, this is denied by Jeff Bezos. So it's just it's interesting, the world breaks on X, and it's interesting to see how the media will change. And I think you'll see it. We know that the media goes whichever the way the wind blows. So all right, moving on. All right, so this was interesting. I actually saw the motorcade go by when I was at SpaceX, but I didn't see the Cybertruck specifically. I saw all of the lights because I was at Rocket Ranch. But during the presidential elect's visit to Starship, the Starship launch, which was amazing, by the way, just to see the recognition that, having Trump out there, having a former and future president come out there was huge. But also, too, this is free advertising. I mean, this is you literally can't. I mean, we had Kim Kardashian drop the Optimus video, a week or two ago or something like that. And the marketing that's happening that Tesla is doing is just they're killing it, because they're not paying for someone to just, throw a Cybertruck in the middle of this. So but yeah, what are you guys' thoughts? I know you guys probably all saw the video of the Cybertruck rolling around with in the presidential motorcade. And who knows who was in it? I don't know if they stated who was in it.
I'm going to say that's Elon in there. It's his company. It's his truck. He's traveling with the president elect. I think if we're going and you want to put me in a non-armored Suburban, no, I'll take the lightly armored Cybertruck, even if it does paint a bit of a target on him. So there hasn't been an attack on a motorcade in 60 years plus. So I think, yeah, that's got to be Elon.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just thought it was cool because, for all intents and purposes, the last 4 years, the president hasn't been there, and so for president-elect to be there to see a launch happen I thought was pretty substantial. That's why I put all the numbers. Like there's hundreds of launches that have happened.
Yeah. I mean, I think what was also too like I haven't done the research, so again, please fact check me. But what would be interesting is when was the last time a president ever came to Brownsville, Texas? So I would have to research that, but like this could be the first time that a president or former president-elect or former president, really you could just say president, has ever been to this part of Texas. So not only is it amazing for SpaceX to finally be featured. And again, it really doesn't matter where you stand politically. This is, for Elon and his companies, this, is huge. I mean, for him to be able to walk around, I mean, he's taking photos with, Trump's his granddaughter. I mean, for them to be able to give a full tour, and there's one of the most iconic photos, in my opinion, is going to be where Elon is showing that Starship rocket and Trump looking at him. And it's almost like he's educating him on just how the whole Starship program is working, and really how like the science behind it and whatever he's doing to educate him. But on that side, but that is going to go down, in my opinion, as one of the most iconic photos of our lifetime as far as the stuff that Elon's doing. So all right, Joe, to you.
So Ashok went ahead and posted this, and I thought this was pretty cool because you're looking at we can let Hans get into the nitty gritty of this, but I thought it's really cool to know like the future of what's happening with the AI for vehicles and everything. And I just saw yesterday somebody with Bennett who has a 2021 Model 3 now has ass. So that was pretty cool to also witness as well.
Yeah, it's cool to see them rolling this out now widely to the entire Hardware 4 fleet. It does really, I think, decisively show that Hardware 4 is the bleeding edge now of development for FSD. And those of us who own Hardware 3 cars are going to be placed on the back burner while they do their development. But I don't think that is something necessarily to be overly concerned about if you do own a Hardware 3 car. It's still speculation on my part, but I'm pretty convinced that Hardware 3 owners will receive these updates. It'll just take longer. And that's definitely the indication that we've gotten from management. And, it was actually the reverse. The new customers who had the new cars for up until this last month and some change, they were the ones who would have to wait longer for updates on their vehicles. And so now the more recent customers finally get some preferential treatment. And this is just the nature of them trying to develop the system. But at the end of the day, what really matters is that they are making very rapid progress now on improving the performance and quality of FSD overall. They haven't hit all the October goals yet that they placed, back at the end of September, but they're making good progress towards many of them. And I think handicapping, what is the timeline of solving the robotaxi problem? If you're going off of the progress that we've seen over the last couple of months instead of what the rate of progress has been over the past years before that, it's definitely faster now. So I think we get to that place of having robotaxi service or FSD unsupervised service more quickly now. And we've seen great also results from the new Austin data center, and so they're putting the that front and center, and the AI4 hardware front and center. And I think that these assets are just bearing fruit, and I can't wait to see the continued development of FSD over, the next 6, 12, especially 18 months. I think we're going to see incredible things.
So ass is finally going outside of North America. So for our friends in Europe are finally getting more ass, or ass for the first time. It's been confirmed in Norway, UK, and even Taiwan. So I think this is huge. I mean, we will see how things go. But in Europe, I'll be really interested to see how the rollout works there, how it deals with regulation, because I think that hopefully it can open up again, and hopefully it can open up the doors for full self-driving because to come sooner. Again, this is Europe is one of the most regulated, I think, countries or unions you can think of. So it's just one of those things that I'm really happy to see this, especially for them to get it, because again, it kind of in the US, it's kind of like we get a lot of the cool updates out here, and so it's really cool to see this rolling out to other places.
Yeah,
So
I
I
think
saw. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
I was just gonna say I think it's a good first step for sure for Europe to have the S, and for people to be able to see that the vehicle can navigate itself, especially I mean during park lots and stuff like that. So I mean that's just a good first step for sure.
So I saw something very surprising. I think yesterday I was able to spot a bunch of FSD test vehicles in Berlin. I've got a video coming out about that in about 2.5 hours here. It'll be 11 a.m. Pacific, where I show them, zoom in, slow down, all that, give you a good look at it. But I think they are doing ground truthing on vehicles in Germany at least, but probably broader Europe to get. We know that this is something that they plan to have done very soon. This will, when you get any amount of FSD beta out to the people, or supervised, I guess, you can count that revenue. If that happens this or next quarter, you are going to be able to get a little bit extra on your margin, just because you're finally counting some revenue, and you can then as well get additional revenue streams from subscriptions as new people sign up for something because it finally is allowed to work.
Yeah, what's interesting about this too is, and Brian, I know, Brian, I know you experienced this, especially when we went to the Tesla takeover. If you talk to Tesla takeover Europe, if you talk to a lot of the Europeans, most people have no idea that Tesla is doing full self-driving in America per se, because a lot of the competition has caught up to what is okay to be released, like Mercedes and BMW, a lot of the autopilots and stuff like that. It may not be exactly the same, but a lot of the Europeans, at least from when I would have conversations with them, and again, maybe Brian, you had different conversations, but it's like it's one of those things where people have no idea. Like when we hosted Jan, um, I hosted um, I hosted Alex as
Robin,
well,
yep.
Robin, all of them. It was like to come out here and experience it. It blew their mind. They sit on our YouTube videos and they watch FSD, and they have no idea because the competition out there has made it at pretty much parity. And this is just something that Tesla is waiting to unlock, but because of regulatory issues, they can't. And
Right.
this is again what makes Tesla unique and what makes this the future. And so for YouTubers to come out from Europe and to check it out, even get access, I gave my Cybertruck for like a week. Or Alex, he borrowed my Model X for like 3 weeks, for them to experience like what life is like with FSD. It really is truly a game changer. So I thought that was huge, and so I'm really excited. Hopefully they can get some of these big updates. I'm glad they got ass, and hopefully some of these other ones can come down the tube as well.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you look at things like what Mercedes is doing, and there are so many qualifiers in what they do that it's not even on par with me going out of my driveway, hitting FSD, and just going through my neighborhood, out to the freeway, past all the stoplights, stop signs, and everything else. It's not even close to that. You're looking at a situation where, like, they're lane keep on freeways. They're a car has to be in front of them. It's like, you know what I mean? There's all these qualifiers that are definitely not the same as what Tesla's doing, but on paper, it looks like, they got it too. You know what I mean? Like, you watch all these freaking GM videos, hands free, and it's like, yeah, that's not FSD at all.
I love the caravan of 20, the longest caravan of Super Cruise ever, right? I could make a phone call and have a longer hands-free caravan of Teslas in 3 hours.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but I mean, hey, good for you, little buddy. We're proud of you.
All right, Joe, to you.
Yeah, the Teslas are just way too cheap. So, so this is the cheapest brands to maintain long term, and I thought this was really cool. Alex put this out. So Tesla doesn't just save you a lot of money on fuel costs; it's also the most affordable vehicle in terms of maintenance costs. And this, as you can see, the list is like staggering. Land Rover down there being the most expensive. Anybody who's ever owned a Land Rover or a BMW could tell you that that's definitely on par. But you're looking at Tesla. This is like a 1 to 5 year cost of $580, 6 to 10 at 3,400. You know what I mean? Like, on average, like that's pretty awesome. 4,000 years and $4,000 in 10-year span is not bad when you're looking at like who's next in all the vehicles, and the price parity between the Tesla, the Buick, the Toyota, and these others. It's pretty staggering once you realize like how much cheaper it is to maintain over time.
Well, especially like one of Toyota's huge brand strengths is this core fact that, historically they were at the very top of cheapest vehicles to maintain, if not the top. And, they've been able to maintain that over many years. And so if you do that for a long time, that actually builds up in the awareness of the consumer base, and people really appreciate that. And then that actually ends up translating into great resale value. And so, if you've ever gone out and tried to buy a used car, usually Toyotas are going to demand a premium. And that's just because people expect that they're not going to have to pay as much in maintenance costs when they purchase that vehicle compared to anything else. And I think that as that awareness actually builds up in the minds of the public for Tesla, that will also be a tailwind to resale value for Teslas. And I also expect this to continue to reduce over time. That, like if you look at the time horizons that we're looking at here, 1 to 5 years and then 6 to 10 years. Well, 10 years ago, that's 2014. Like, there's not that many Teslas that are that old. And Tesla has learned a lot about how to actually reduce the need for maintenance overall by just deleting parts that are not essential to begin with and improving the quality and the engineering of systems overall. So I would really expect this, $4,000 6 to 10 year maintenance cost price to continue to reduce over time. A big portion of that is probably, working out the kinks of scale battery manufacturing in those earlier models and making sure that you've got your 2170 battery quality high enough, and then getting your battery management system high enough. Like, think about how much a battery on a Tesla costs, and the fact that the average cost here is, that $4,000 price point. Well, that means that it's not very common that you have to replace a battery on a Tesla, because if it was, this cost would be much, much, much higher than it is. And then you've got all kinds of other things that are, part of the maintenance of these vehicles over time. So as Tesla continues to just mature in their overall quality and their engineering and all of the things that they've done to make the vehicles easier to assemble, this price is just going to continue to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And I think this metric is one where I do not expect Chinese companies to really be able to compete with Tesla at all. And that will be one more layer of the premium that, like the premium identity that Tesla has in the marketplace, like an Apple, but also the premium in cost that someone is going to pay for a new or used Tesla in the future.
Yeah, you're right on. You're right on with that, because there was a post about uh, some Chinese companies or whatever. I think Neo or something like that had a really cool vehicle, and there were like a few people from China who chimed in. And they were like, "Yeah, this vehicle is crap." Oh no, it was a MKBH post on the new vehicle that's like this super huge like
Was
smart
it that
van.
Xiaomi? Oh
Yeah,
no,
was it Xiaomi?
No, Xiaopeng's got the van, I think. Oh,
Yeah,
Neo's got the van.
yeah,
No,
yeah. It was,
Neo.
it was,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was, it was a Neo van. And so in all the comments, it was just like people were like, "Yeah, no, this van is crap and it's a failure by Chinese standards. Like this vehicle is like not cool at all." And he was just like kind of talking about how awesome it was for American standards and the price or whatever. But the Chinese people were like, "Yeah, no, this is trash. Like we do not like this vehicle, which is why it's not selling." And I think like you're looking at a situation like what Hans says, like this is gonna be like a deciding factor for a lot of people going forward, especially in the used car market. Like my cousin bought a 2019 freaking Model 3 and he loves it, right? Because that vehicle is still vastly better than anything he could have purchased, whether it be a Toyota, Honda, or whatever, in terms of like cost parity over time and things like that. So yeah, I think it's just going to be a really cool metric going forward, and of course, just going to get less and less over time.
If you look at the used market, you'll see a Model 3 or Y with 80,000 miles still goes for more than a Bolt with 10,000, 20,000 miles of the same year. And it's because, I mean, come on, which one would you rather have?
Oh, one thing I have a quick question to everyone is, so we know, like when you look at, again, I'm just speaking from my own personal observation. I'm not gonna like throw out like necessarily like facts or anything, but growing up, right, like I would say Toyota and Honda had, the kingpin on being being affordable, but very, very reliable. I think what Tesla is dealing with is the fact that, they're still seen as like a luxury brand. And that's kind of changing. But what I'm saying is these costs are bringing them down to, as Hans was saying, levels of Toyota and Honda, and they're breaking those stereotypes. So, do you like how does Tesla continue to just bring awareness? Obviously, because there's only so much marketing you can do. Do you think that the facts of this, it being this affordable car will just kind of, how does that go mass awareness, if
I
that makes
think
sense?
I think they're doing a pretty good job. They're in this new season of marketing. You saw that with the Kim Kardashian thing and with a lot of stuff they've been doing lately. Like this isn't the Tesla of old where it's just like, we don't need to tell anybody about what we're doing. They know it. You know what I mean? Like they like especially with that Korean overseas that they got to be an ambassador. Like Tesla's just like they are really doing different things than they used to. You got a vehicle that's not coming out for about 2 years, and it's in all the showrooms, and everybody's been able to see it. Like it's like everywhere, and I mean the Cybercab is just like everywhere right now, and it's not even going to be on the market for like a long time, and they've never done that before. So I think they're definitely doing different things than they have before, and they're trying to bring awareness in their own way. But there needs to be more education about the what Tesla offers. I think that would be ideal.
I think this element specifically, though, is one you just have to earn people's trust with butts and seats and owned experience over time. This one really is more of a long game. You know, Toyota, with all of their manufacturing, couldn't manufacture this feeling of trust towards their vehicles through advertising. They actually had to win it by making cars that were cheaper to um, maintain and then selling, millions and millions and millions of them to consumers for many, many, many years. And so I think that, I mean, there's some things that we can do to maybe help accelerate this in the short term with some education and advertising and marketing stuff, but really that stuff's really at the margins, and ultimately they have to win this on the merits, and they have to do it not only through making cars that are cheaper to maintain, but selling a lot more of them than they have sold to date.
I think they should just buy a bunch of JD Power awards. They're very affordable when you get them in bulk.
Oh man, sorry, I just couldn't stop laughing.
Classic.
Yeah, no, yeah, that'll be interesting over time. But yeah, I think that's going to be continued to be, I would say, and Joe can also speak for this. So, as we've been running clubs over the past, 5, 6 years, Tesla, like we would be the ones at these like small cars and coffee events, or really like car shows, or even just we would be the ones doing the ride and drives for Tesla on Tesla's behalf. And I would say it's been the past year where I've never had, we've never been more involved, and we could not be more happy to be involved with Tesla. But they're definitely keeping a huge eye on the pulse of the community, keeping a huge eye on like how can they, bring a couple cars, do test drives at any of our events. So, but I do think that this will be a huge thing because, back in 2019, when I was telling people about Teslas, the people probably that I was talking to could afford to buy Teslas when they were more expensive, and they all did at the end of the day. But now it's for the everyday person potentially. How do they continue to understand that this is still a more affordable vehicle over like a 5-year period than a Toyota Corolla? That and also too, people can be very price sensitive still, so they may not be able to jump up to a Tesla per se, because you may pay a little bit more upfront, but in the long run, it's still the better choice. All right, so Tesla is not an energy company, as we know, or literally a an electric uh, producing company, right? As we know, like PG&E out here in the Bay Area. But this is pretty crazy. So Tesla has introduced a new promotion in Texas. You can get 1 year of unlimited vehicle charging for $5 a month if you take delivery of a new Tesla and enroll in Tesla Electric Fixed Plan by December 31st. But yeah, this is really great promotion if you live in Texas. So I think Hans, you need to jump on this.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not eligible for this because I have one of the smaller utilities in Texas in SWEPCO, and they are not participating in this. So it's not the entire state, but it is most of the state. Yeah, if you live in any of the big areas, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, you're going to be eligible for this kind of stuff. And man, that's an awesome deal. Like $5 a month. Like just think about that. $5 a month to travel as much as you want in your Tesla. That's crazy. Like
Yeah, it's
so much
crazy.
cheaper than gas. That alone should save you, anywhere between $50 and $150 a month on the overall price of your vehicle if you drive a significant, like, the more that you drive, if you're not using supercharging and you can charge up in your garage overnight, then the more you save. Like, this is a great program. And then, well, how are they able to offer this? It's because, to your point, they are an energy company. They have energy assets, they have power walls, they have mega packs, and they can collaborate with these utilities to help them do load balancing. And so Tesla can provide value to the utility and then ask for in return, hey, can we get a little quid pro quo here, Mr. Utility, for our Tesla owners? And it's a win-win for everyone. The utilities benefit by shifting this charging from the daytime when they have higher loads into the evening. And so this is a way to try and incentivize people to use electricity when the electricity is more available. There's less demand for it, and it really helps everybody. And so, money talks. The easiest way to get people to do their charging overnight is to make it cheaper. And Tesla has been able to work out a sweet deal for a lot of owners.
So my take is a little bit different in that there was already a program that we'd seen a year or two ago where I think it was $20 a month or $30 a month for unlimited overnight charging. And it's like you were saying, Hans, because Texas has a lot of wind and wind blows at night. I don't know if anyone is aware of this, but it doesn't go to sleep like the sun does. It goes to sleep. I'm confident that's how the science works. So that means for a year, even if it's $25 a month, we're not talking about just a few $100 here. It's no big deal. And I think there's value to getting a new customer signed up to Tesla Energy. Surely that's worth dollars right there. So it's probably going to be a wash. And I would argue that it's not 150 you're saving, because I don't, you would be charging on, you would find some kind of off-peak charging program. So, but even still, $5 a month, that's one charge. That is a gallon and a half of gas. That is a heck of a deal. And it just shows that Tesla has demand levers they can pull that are not even available to other companies.
Yeah, and I think just to put this in perspective too, it's like even if you compare this to a gas car, right? I mean, you're literally, even if you drive a lot, you're commuting a lot, you're spending $5 essentially to fill up your car every night, which is, but this is for a month. This is not even for a night. It's like 10 cent, however much you're charging or however much you're filling up your gas car. But ultimately, it sounds like, Texas has a lot of opportunities to really keep things cheap for, energy and for your electricity. So like I know for me in California, they're doing everything that they can to charge or make charging your car even more expensive, just so that, or it just feels like my energy bill keeps going up, right? And it's really probably PG&E, but the gas savings to energy costs is not as much. It keeps dwindling down further and further, just because obviously with all of the transitions that California's making to get everyone into electric vehicles, they're also then trying to move those taxes and to get it at parity so that they can keep getting that same cash flow instead of all of the other taxes that they're putting on gas cars and gas in general, right? Joe, to you.
So I thought this was really cool. So MDR went ahead and posted this yesterday. I thought this is so crazy. 500,000 Seattle homes without power. Every gas station in my neighborhood is closed. Even those with generators have no internet or staff to process the transactions, right? But you guess what's open? Tesla Superchargers. Look at the sign on the door. Cash only, sorry, no lotto. Cash only, no gas. Like they're out of order. And people, this was, to me, was eye-opening, because people are like, well, what are you going to do when this and this goes out if you don't have this and this? And it's like, well, like gas pumps work on electricity and they wouldn't work either. But without internet, like, that's pretty wild, especially if you have like the charging infrastructure where they're on solar and battery backups. Like, you're going to be fine.
An interesting thing you can do in these difficult times is go to the supercharger, fill up your Cybertruck, bring it home, and power your house. So it's a little bit of opportunities there that other companies don't have.
Yeah, it's pretty eye-opening.
Speaking of graveyards, the Tesla Cybertruck, they're essentially they're in the scrapyard, and obviously their fate looks like it's already being decided. So I remember these because I used to chase
Yeah.
these down in the streets of Palo Alto, just as they were, just driving through, and I can tell you these trucks got millions of views, hundreds of millions of views probably across social platforms, just because they were so iconic to see on the road, and it would literally, everyone would stop what they're doing just to look at these. So shout out to them and all of the early prototypes. And release candidate ready is essentially what the RC meant, but very, very exciting to see, or not exciting, but I'm assuming that they'll probably keep a couple of them potentially, to throw somewhere to put in a museum at some point, but like they have that like they did in Peterson Museum. but at the same time, it's like they're gonna get rid of all the other ones.
I
Yeah,
met
it's
a
pretty crazy.
engineer who was driving one of the release candidates at a supercharger, and he was gracious enough to talk, even though it's what he has to do every time he would pull into one, because it was last December, so the cars were out, but not really.
Yeah.
And I said, "Is this vehicle going to end up sold? Is it going to a museum?" He said, "Nope, nope, nope. All of these to the scrap heap. They're just for testing," which I thought was tragic.
Super tragic.
Do you guys know why they can't sell these to collectors with just the stipulation that they can't be driven on roads?
My guess would be there's secret sauce in there that they don't want
Yeah.
anyone to stumble upon.
So the drive units and batteries have been removed from these, as well as the article post. Yari, who is the owner of Cali Motive, who I know in Sacramento, is a freaking amazing dude. But they have, like, they have everything. They have all kinds of vehicles in their scrapyard. It's basically like a pick and pull for EVs. It's pretty awesome. But to there's no way that they could do that, because, yeah, like Brian said, there's that secret sauce, but then there's other things that you would get into a legal battle of, like, oh, well, somebody hurt themselves on your vehicle, or, you know what I mean, or they tried to do something they shouldn't have done, and you could promise that you wouldn't put stuff on the street, but as we know, people are people, and, they like to do things their way, and so eventually they would find their way on the street somehow, some way.
So one thing that I know, I think it just came up in the past day or two, and I know we didn't have this, but we know that Tesla, one of the biggest issues that they've had, and really Elon has had, is with the SEC. And I think the person I'm forgetting his name, so sorry.
Gary
But the person,
Gensler.
yes, now I remember that name. So our friend Gary, he gave his resignation date already. I think it's January 20th or something like that. What do you guys I mean, like, this is how insane this is. Like 2, 3 years ago, could you have imagined that we would be where we are today? As far as, like, when you think, and again, aside from politics, but for what Elon has been through, what Tesla is going to do, even some of the stuff that's happening at the Fed level with autonomous vehicles, like, you just can't make this stuff up. And now, one of the biggest agencies that has come after Tesla, and specifically Elon, um, the SEC is they see the writing on the wall. They see what's going to happen with the Department of Government Efficiency, and I think it's over like 400 government agencies, and then some of them, I think Elon even said he's sat in on some of these conversations, and they didn't start the actual agency because there was all the acronyms were taken. He said that. But I think what are your guys' thoughts? I mean, like I said, this is a huge turn of events. And it seems like a lot of, builders are going to build, and a lot of the things that, the people that have come after him all these years are literally, I think, freaking out. And you see it. I mean, this guy's not even going to try to, be a part of the whole new administration. He's like, I'm out.
I mean, we don't know who's going to come in behind him. You know, I mean, sometimes the grass is always greener on the other side, right? So you just never know who's going to be next up. But it's just a crazy time. Like, I think for all of us in January, we couldn't have saw this being what it is today. In January, people wanted Elon gone. They wanted Elon out of Tesla completely. They felt that he did not have what it took to keep the business afloat. I mean, that was in January. So, like, yeah, no, definitely nobody could have saw this.
I'd say that we don't know what we're looking at. We've got a lot of possibilities, and a lot of people are very confident that XYZ will happen, but until it does, I just don't believe it. Politics is a slow-moving machine. When you've got a ship that's this big, it takes a whole lot of rudder to get any kind of turning going on. And We could see great things. We could see more of the same. We could see nothing at all. We will find out. And when we do, if something happens, it'll be a good thing. And if nothing happens, what we have, the nothing we already have, hasn't killed us. It's not like, NHTSA is a pain in the ass, but they haven't exactly slowed us down. So I'm not worried about that. The SEC is kind of another matter. I think that's all about Elon not being part of the good old boys club with his company and his stock. But it's gotten so big that the institutionals can no longer ignore it and pretend it's not here to stay. So I don't know.
I really enjoyed David Freeberg's commentary kind of around just this topic of the electorate voted for change. And he said that basically what he's expecting is some sort of extinction type event for government agencies, that there's just going to be a lot of essentially chaos. And to Brian's point, that's assuming that the people who are coming in can actually bring in the chaos. If they are, it's going to involve some things that work out well, a lot of things that don't work out well. But ultimately, if we can cut things back, then at least there's a chance for something healthier to grow in its place. But, yeah, Brian's 100% correct. Are we going to actually be able to cut a lot of those things back in the first place? That remains to be seen. I think with the SEC specifically and Gary Gensler, that his views on how the SEC should be run are diametrically opposed to the incoming administration on a number of things. Like, I think if he had never gone after SEC, if Gary Gensler had never directed the SEC to go after Elon, he would still be in the same position today that he is because of his other positions on a number of things like crypto. I think a lot of Americans want to see more sensible regulation around crypto and the weird things that the SEC is doing, where they just like, no, we're not going to tell you what's legal. We're just going to randomly sue you and come after you. We don't know why. We'll make it up on the fly. Like, that type of approach to governing anything in the United States is not something that I would expect to survive long term. It's just, countercultural to the way Americans expect the government to work. And so, yeah, I think he would be kind of on the outs, regardless of his relationship to Elon and Tesla. But it is just, one more example of his approach and how that differs from the way that the incoming administration wants to see things done. And so, not at all surprised that he is just voluntarily saying, okay, I'm going to get out of here, and then we'll see what happens with the new administration. Are they going to be, is the SEC going to change their direction, or is it going to be more of the same? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think Joe, you mentioned a good point of like in January. I mean, we had this whole revote for board members, like, everyone and their mom saying, I want to be a board member. Elon's not the right CEO. He's too busy with Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, to his compensation plan being freaking doubted. Like, he doesn't deserve this. And how do people in 2024 know what he deserves in 2018? When we all voted on that, and however, so it's like, just you look at all the stuff that Tesla has been through. Again, the stock has done really well over the past 2 weeks. So and really the overall market, even crypto, Dogecoin, has literally shot up almost 200%. And so you have, just this insane run up right now. So again, we'll see. I agree with Brian, probably got to hold, you can't tip your hat yet. But at the end of the day, it's important to see what's going to happen. But all I can say is this has been like, if you were to think of this year, what Elon's been through, his companies, and then just the turn of events. Again, we'll see, TBD. But I would have never thought in January that you would then, at the end of the year, have Starship 6 happening, and then a presidential candidate, elect, whatever you want to call him, coming out. That's just not something I would have ever put on my bingo card.
It's funny. Money has a way of creating Alzheimer's in people. Like, really creates a great memory loss, man. All the money that people have made, and they're just like, oh man, Elon's great. What did I say before? I don't even remember that. What do you mean? Board member? What?
I'll
Like,
tell you the thing that annoys me the most about Elon's comp plan is I didn't vote for it the first time because I wasn't a shareholder. I became a shareholder knowing full well that that comp plan was in place. Because what I said is, look, if he gets paid this outrageous sum, my tiny little amount of money will pay off my house. And it is enough to do that. It's just trapped in my IRA. So now I have to get old first. And I am not looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to see how this year has been. With that said, let's just jump into the upbeat. All right, so this section, again, shout out to Joe for creating this deck, and this section, but it's really for us to put the panelists on the spot, see if we can uh, g- uh, get them caught up without any words and expressions, but it's just a quick reaction. So we're gonna go to Hans because he's at the top of the Brady Bunch today. Hans, Tesla growing in Canada. Tesla's expanding in Canada with a new store in Masonville Places in London, Ontario.
Sounds great, eh? Them Canadians, they need their Teslas.
I think Tesla's done a very good job of putting pressure on Spirit Halloween for taking over old stores. Like they are just on gangbuster routine like lately. It's pretty crazy.
I heard they're taking over a Costco somewhere as well, a former Costco that's been vacant for some years. That's a very large delivery center space.
Holy cow.
I hadn't heard that. That's cool.
All right, to you, Brian. Fits in a Starship. The new tunnel boring machine designed by the boring company engineers can immediately start digging a tunnel anywhere with no prior site preparation.
Not only does it fit, because you could fit a smallish one in a Falcon Heavy, it's the weight that's the issue. You could lift this. It is not too heavy. And the payload bay is, we're not sure how that's going to work, but yeah, why not? If we're going to be sending robots to Mars to prepare for human arrival, wouldn't it be nice to have them do some tunneling while they're there as well? And it's possible. It works. And these are, smaller diameter than a lot of other companies use. But as we've seen, they're adequate. John, I know you've been in the boring tunnel. I think, Joe, you've been in the boring tunnel as well. And I've been there. It is, the diameter is appropriate. This will work. It's great.
Yeah, it's
It's
pretty
also
cool for Mars. But go ahead, Hans.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a great way to actually create resources on Mars too. Like you're gonna need material to build things with, and this is a way you can use the area that's being dug out by the tunnel as material that you can turn into some sort of construction material. Now that's going to be difficult at first because you're going to have to bring some extra things to mix into that material probably, unless you just randomly know exactly where to dig that has exactly what it is that you need. But this is a great construction tool. Like it's a lot easier when you don't have an atmosphere on the surface to seal up a tunnel and create space underneath the surface instead of having to build some canopy to hold air in and all that as well. So this is obviously when you step out and look at things from the larger perspective, going to be something that has to be a part of creating a settlement on Mars at any significant scale. And so, of course, you would need it then to be transportable to Mars via the Starship.
One interesting thing too is that Kimball actually has a company called Square Roots, which I don't know how much they're working on this now, but it's essentially growing produce on Mars. So it's interesting how, like, you think of this stuff full circle. I mean, they dropped one of these bad boys there and starts digging a tunnel on Mars. Can you imagine? And then, you know, just the full circle of all of this stuff. You just can't, you literally can't make this stuff up. All right,
Yeah, no,
so
it's pretty incredible.
all right, Joe, Tesla charging app update. With the new Tesla app, you can report issues at Tesla charging locations at any time.
So this is I love to see the team work on software things like this, because it just goes to show you like all that's capable with Tesla, and with the and with a good software team. Because there's a lot of times when a problem happens at a supercharger, and I'll just happen to have been there at the time, and they're like, "Oh, that supercharger is broken," or whatever, and then I can send an email off or something like that to whoever I might know in the area, because I've luckily enough, I've been around a lot in my area and have met a lot of people, especially a lot of the team of the guys that work on the superchargers or whatever. It's literally one guy who covers all of our valley area. It's one guy. It's freaking crazy. He works on all the superchargers, and he's like deployed whenever like something goes wrong. So it's pretty crazy. I mean, well, now they might have two guys, but at the time it was like always one guy. But I think like what Tesla can do with the app is pretty incredible. What I would like to see is you being able to do a light show from the app. I think that'd be dope.
Absolutely. On Halloween, I kept doing light shows, and I would have to go over there and deal with it, set it, come. Just let me activate from here, man.
Yeah.
And especially for setting up light shows, for big light shows, if you could have everyone gathered in one spot and say, okay, we're doing 8:05 p.m. instead of 100 people running to their cars, we can just stand here and make sure it's done.
Yes, I posted that on X. Hopefully that happens. That'd be awesome.
One of the other cool things about this is, I'm sure that the plumbing for this and the overall way that they build this into the app is something that can also be used once they launch the ride hail network to identify issues with, specific cyber cabs as well. And, having that real-time customer feedback be part of a service that's being provided. Supercharging is a service. Robotaxi is also going to be a service. Like, there's going to be a lot of carryover from one to the other, and that's going to be really important for the overall user experience.
All right, Brian, to you. Tesla has introduced interest-free payment plans. This allows buyers to spread the cost of items with four payments over 6 months.
So I'm going to assume that this is the same kind of no interest deal you get when you buy a smartphone or something on Amazon, where they're not actually carrying the paper themselves, but they're prepaying the interest on your behalf. It's an easy way to get customers who might be a little budget sensitive into the product. And the cost to Tesla is probably $30 of upfront interest. It's better. It's better because only some customers will do this. So you're not giving the discount to everyone. You're giving the discount to just those who need the interest-free payments. And you can even get it for less than $30 of prepaid interest if the lender assumes that some people will not make it in 4 months and will rack up interest instead, because that's usually what you see is if they miss a payment, the interest then applies. So it'll be it's fine. It's a good deal. And there's plenty of margin in those chargers.
All right, Joe, last one to you. So, other things in development.
Yeah, this was pretty awesome. So this guy has a family of like 47, and he's like, "Hey Elon, I went to, well, he didn't say hey Elon, he was just like saying like I went to check out some vehicles and see if I have something to fit my family, because I'm trying to make more family members like you suggested." And Elon's like, "That's great to see. Tesla Rebovin is in development and some other things too." So I thought this would be a great one to end on for everybody, because like we know about the Rebovin, right? But as that platform looks, like you could put anything on there. So I just wonder if they have like some type of a sprinter van type thing that's also in development as well.
I think in development is doing. I think working on it is doing some incredibly heavy lifting here. I think thinking about it is what they're doing. I don't think anything is actually in development beyond what we've seen so far. That would, yeah. I don't think that's. It's a possibility in the future, but it's not coming anytime soon.
Yeah, probably like at least 2 years or more.
I do think that there's going to be, some variation of a van, a larger form SUV over time. Priorities have to make sense, timing has to make sense, but eventually Tesla will probably make something to fit every use case. It may look different than a current SUV or a current minivan, but like those form factors exist because there's a use case that needs it. And whatever those use cases are and however those use cases get fulfilled in an age of autonomy, Tesla will make that vehicle.
Agreed.
The future is very exciting. Again, lots happening in the world of Tesla. Never, I mean, we are all involved in Tesla in various ways and from different standpoints, whether it's covering it on a YouTube channel versus running communities and stuff like that, or doing a bit of both. It's pretty crazy just seeing what's happening. So never a dull moment. We will be back next week. Oh, Hans, you want to say something? You're muted.
I was just going to say, and remember, you are the media now.
You are the
Exactly.
media.
What did you just call me?
Brian didn't know he was the media. But yeah, no, like I said, when they've been going with the slogan, "You are the media," it just made me. I'm like, technically, we've been doing citizen journalism ever since we've been running these clubs, because we have literally been fighting the fake news this whole time. And obviously, Brian, you and Hans have, like, and Joe too, like, running a community, like, we've all been fighting this for years now. And so it's pretty crazy when you think of like your X handle as being the media. It just kind of puts a different perspective on it.
Yeah, 100%. It's crazy times.
All right, guys. So we're top of the hour. Thank you all for coming back this week. Please follow Hans and Brian FutureAza. I've posted their X handles. I've posted their X handles on X and YouTube. You can also find their YouTube channels as well. So please patronize them. They are here every week, giving up their time. And same thing with Joe SJV Tesla as well. Give him a follow. He's got an amazing personality. He's an Optimus owner, a future Optimus owner. And we will keep you guys connected each week. All right. Have a good week, everyone. See ya.
Peace.